So, hello and welcome to our very first Savera UK Youth interview. And I am very, very pleased today to be joined by Naila Amin, who is a forced marriage survivor and is now an activist. So, hi Naila.
Hi Maryam, how are you?
I'm so good, thank you. How are you?
I am doing amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking. No problem.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I gave you a very, very brief introduction just now. And would you mind telling our viewers how your story starts?
So basically, I am Pakistani. I was born in Pakistan, and at the age of 4, I immigrated from Pakistan to America, to New York, and I was 4 years old. You know, my whole world changed immediately. I am Pashtun, which is it's just not very barbaric type of tribe. I'm not saying all, but it's the men always, and just in the Pakistani culture alone, the men overpower the women, and in the Pashtun culture it just gets 10 times worse. So we're basically considered, you know, not enough, and as women we're treated like garbage. And I came to America and I was 4 years old. I started kindergarten, and you know, it was hard for me because I had to learn English and I had to fit in, and it was just really different for me, the, you know, cultural differences, and, you know, getting to know, just wearing jeans, you know, for the first time, buying jeans. I have a very good memory. I remember being 5 years old and having these really ugly jeans. They were like striped blue and pink. I don't know what I was thinking. But, you know, life dramatically changed for me. And when I was 8 years old, my dad's nephew was getting married. So I went over to Pakistan, and I had a cousin there, first cousin, my dad's oldest brother's son, Tariq. And he was 13 years older, and I called him Lala, which is a term for big brother in Pashto. And I would call him Lala, and all of a sudden it was just a get together, like a dinner at my chachi's house, which means dad's sister-in-law. So I was at my chachi's house and I heard a bunch of teenagers giggling, and I was playing with a goat. I'll never forget. And they were like, oh, look at her, she's already taking care of the animals of the house. How misogynistic. Like, I'm 8 years old. And they're giggling. They're like, don't you know this is going to be your home forever now? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they were like, your parents gave you away last night. You're going to marry Tariq. And that's how I found out I was engaged. So it wasn't like I was a human or anything.
Yeah.
It was decided for me.
Yeah, the decision
and
was
it was
taken,
all
yeah.
because I had a passport. And a passport is like the golden egg to these people. So that's not in every forced marriage, but in my case, that was the main motive. So at 8, I got engaged, but you know, I didn't really understand what was going on, but I had to grow up very fast, because when I came back, I was in the 4th grade and I was living in Astoria. That's the first place I ever lived when I moved to America. And I remembered there was a Greek boy in my class. I was about 9-ish, about to turn 9. School had just started. It was the 4th grade. And I had a little bit of a crush on him. And I said to myself, Naila, stop thinking like this, because you can never be with him. It was like a chain had been put on me from such an early age, you know, that I couldn't look at anyone or think of anyone else, because I had a stamp on me. I belonged to someone. And for an 8-year-old, that is really, really traumatic. And slowly, you know, I knew I always wanted to get away. Since I was 10 years old, I knew that in 8 years, I'm going to move out and I am going to be on my own, and I'm going to leave all of this behind. I knew I was different from the age of 10. I had made that decision. I was counting the years, and I had to grow up very fast, like I said earlier. And unfortunately, when I turned 13, my older brother was forced into a marriage to my mother's second cousin. They just like to keep it in the family. And you know, everyone was really happy. We spent loads of money. It was about 3,000 people in the wedding. I live in a village, like a horse and carriage type of village, in a place called Furmulli in Attock, which is a city in Punjab. And long story short, I found myself in Pakistan again, missing the 8th grade completely. They took me out of school in the 8th grade in early October, and we went for the wedding. My brother got married around Christmas time, and they decided to have the bright idea to get my nikah done, which is the Islamic ceremony of getting a girl married. And they did that for immigration purposes. Now, I'm just going to get a little bit off topic here because I need to tell you why they were doing it for immigration. Up until 2017, the law in New York with parental permission to marry your child was 14. So they thought we'd dress her up. They dressed me up in my sister's wedding clothes, and they, took pictures. And I was a baby. I still have pictures, and I had no idea what was going on. But to me, it was like, hey, I'm putting makeup on, and it wasn't like such a big deal when I look at it now. But when I look at little 13-year-old nieces of mine, I'm like, oh my God, like I was married at that age, So it's really appalling to me that it's still happening, and that's why I think it's so important for me to share my story. So they took pictures of me. I came back to America, and I actually skipped the 8th grade, and I turned 14, and they sent my papers. My dad had me fill out some papers, showed the nikah papers, gave the wedding pictures, the fake wedding pictures that they took of me at 13, and they sent it off to USCIS. Now, a crazy fact that a lot of Americans don't know is that the United States Citizenship Immigration is what USCIS stands for. They don't have a age limit for sponsorship for a spouse. You can be as young as 0 to bring someone to America. But guess what age you have to be to bring a parent or a sibling? You have to be 21. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm working on a federal bill as well to raise the age from 0 to 18 with USCIS. So that's another thing on my plate.
You can do it, Naila. You can do it.
We will do it together. And I, at 14, started high school, and my parents, I was already married at 13. My parents sent the papers over to USCIS, who happened to stamp the first petition. But at the time, my parents found out that I liked a Spanish boy, and that, I had a boyfriend, and my parents completely lost it. And my dad hit me. And unfortunately, after that, I ran away, and the boy that I was dating in high school in 9th grade, he took me to the high school, Baldwin High School in Long Island. And when the social worker saw my bruises, I remember they called my parents, and they were like, we're taking your child away for beating her up. My parents had beat me up because I was considered I considered zina, which is adultery in their eyes, because I was already married and with a boy. So to them, that was just, I'm lucky, I lived to see it. And I was so scared that, I didn't know what was going to happen. And all I know is that the last really, really powerful memory for me was my parents out of the glass doors of Baldwin High School leaving in cuffs. And that was really hard for me. It still broke my heart. The people who hurt me, but they took me away from them. I was put in a group home for 6 months. I had to eat pizza for 6 months because there was no halal food. They didn't know anything. So I just ate Trader Joe's pizza. I'll never forget it. And I'll never eat Trader Joe's pizza again. So I stayed in that group home from March of 2004 till about the end of July, where then I was basically, the social workers thought I had a lot of psychological issues. Apparently, there was no cultural competency. They didn't want to return me to my parents. They thought I was crazy when I said I'm married, because I was the first Asian American child in foster care in Nassau County, Long Island, and probably in New York at the time. This was in 2004, early 2004. So it was really hard for me. I was their experiment child, as you can call it. And I stayed there for about 6 months, and then they said she needs a group home setting. And I used to beg them. I said, all I want is to be normal, to have a family, to to be able to be who I am. You know, I am sick and tired of having my life dictated for me. But, you know, they just were not having it. And I got put into a home in Port Washington, group home, which is now shut down. It's owned by St. Mary's and Catholic Charities. And I was there for about a month or so, but I was a big AWOLer, which means absence without leave. And I would just run away and go back to Baldwin and, you know, stay with my parents, or, you know, stay with, not with my parents, I'm sorry, with my friends. And I would just run away for days because I didn't like the group home setting. We had a bedtime, you know, and in Asian cultures, Maryam, you know, now it's a thing where they're giving children bedtime. But, you know, I'm much older than you. In our days, we had no bedtime. It was bedtime when mom went to bed, you know. So it was just too hard for me. So I ran away, and I decided, this was in August of 2004, that I can't do this anymore. I'm only 14 years old. I'm going to go to my parents' house and we're going to make this right. And what my parents did is Child Protective Services. I was missing. I went missing, and they used to come to my house and look for me in closets, in the attic. They didn't look for me in the closet, one certain closet, and that's a closet I used to hide in. And then my parents told me, how about we send you to Pakistan, where you will age out of the system. You'll turn 18 and they'll have no jurisdiction over you. And then you can come back and study and live your life. Little did I know that that was the child marriage trap. And I got on a plane in October. I think it was October 14, 2004. And I turned 15 in Pakistan. My maternal cousin, he got married, and I had a good old time. And then all of a sudden my dad came, my brothers came. I can't remember, because psychologically you suppress a lot of stuff. It's been about 16 years now, coming this January. And my mother said, let's go, we're going to buy this, we're going to buy this. And it was, I think, 2 days or 3 days after Christmas, and I found myself in Anarkali Bazaar. I think it's in Lahore, Pakistan. And she tells the guy, start pulling out langas. Langas is what was bridal wear, Asian bridal wear. And I just sat in the store and I was like, what? And she's like, Naila, your wedding is in about a week. I was already married, nikah wise. I belonged to him. But my going away ceremony, which is called the Barat. And she's like, you know, you're about to go live with him, which means I had to sleep with him. And I was frightened beyond belief. They took my passport. I didn't know where it was. I was thinking, I didn't know, there were no organizations at the time. I didn't know what to do. I had a trusted uncle that I was like, I don't want to do this. I told my brother, I don't want to do this. But he said to me, if I had to do it, meaning I'm a guy, you have to do it. That's my older brother. And I had no help from anyone. And I got, in 8 days, I became a bride. I remember I was so upset. I didn't want to hire a makeup artist. I did my own makeup. And it was the day I lost a big part of Naila. To this day, I'm still working on getting it back. And I think that wound will never go away. You know, it will stitch up and it'll heal, but the scar will be there. And you know what? I'm grateful for it, because every time life seems like it's low, I go back to the times when I remember that there were times where I was a slave. Child marriage is slavery. And, you know, you have to come back to that. So it doesn't go away. It will never go away. But I have to rise above it. And I still do. And every day it's still hard to get out of bed. I developed psoriasis because of this, because in psychology, if your brain can't take it anymore, it starts to come out in diseases, especially autoimmune diseases. And with the psoriasis, I have psoriatic arthritis, which I'm just getting acupuncture for now. And, you know, it's a lot of things. I have depression, I have anxiety, but I have to pick myself every day. And I can't promise you here that you know, there are days where I can't get out of bed. So I'm fighting every day. It's a fight. And for the rest of my, you know, life, I have to fight every single day. And I think a lot of people that have not been in this situation, they don't understand, but they need to understand that when you take a child and you throw them into fire, when they come back, those scars are never going to heal. They will always be there. That dent from the burn will always be there. So we need to really, really think about the things that we do to our children, because, you know, they say it's easier to heal a child than to heal an adult. So I would say, you know, basically it's something that is hard for me and I'm working on it. But luckily, you know, I was with him for just a very short time. I got married on January 5th, 2005. And the first 10 days, I would not let him touch my body. On the 10th day, I ran away from home. I live in a village, like I told you, and I ran through the back streets and I found a little mud hut with very poor people living. People know me there because my dad likes to help the poor and stuff, but I don't know who they are. And I said to her, look, I need help. Tell your son to get me a horse and carriage and take this chadar, which in my village, we cover our face with a niqab covering. You can only see the eyes. I said, you take my white one and give me your brown one. And luckily the woman listened. She gave it to me. Her son got me a horse and carriage, and it took me to the nearest hub. And in that hub, I got into a van. I didn't know where the embassy was, but I thought it was in Islamabad. And I believe it is in Islamabad. I think it might have changed it now. I'm not sure, but I really didn't know. I just wanted to get out of there. But I was really scared because I was still a 10-day bride. I had henna. I had a lot of gold, all my gold on me, and I had money, and I stuck out. When you go to Pakistan from America or England or anywhere, you stick out from the way you're dressed, from the way you talk, from your shoes, your bag. They know. And I went, and when the bus took, and I got off the bus, which is 3 hours from my house at the time, there were no motorways, nothing. And when I got off the bus, I was in it was just a bunch of, like, at the time, it was 2005, you know, the Taliban, they were pretty much everywhere. I was really scared. I didn't know who to talk to, who not to, who I can say I'm American to, because they had, at the time, Bush was president, and they had jokes about him. So, like, I had a lot of gold money. I didn't want to get robbed or killed or kidnapped. So I didn't know if I should go to a taxi. So I sat and I drank tea, but there were men everywhere. So there was a hotel, and I tried to get a hotel room. And they said to me, you don't have a Shanakhti card, which is a Pakistani, I guess, ID.
Yeah, I didn't.
And they were like, over here, we don't rent rooms to women alone. I think it'd be for adultery reasons, because you have to be married in the Pakistani Sharia law in order to get a hotel. And I guess they didn't believe me. I was a 15-year-old child. I had just turned 15 in October of 2004, and this was January. And I felt hopeless. And as each hour went by, you know, I'm smelling the pakoras and kebabs the men are frying, and taxis are going in and out, and I'm scared at this point. So I called the same uncle, my mom's second cousin. My mom doesn't have real brothers of her own. And I called him and I said, what should I do? He's like, you know, I'll come pick you up. We'll fix it. We'll sort this out. I promise you. Let's go back to the village. And me being stupid enough to think, you know, he took me back, and he came, he picked me up. He's like, it's going to be okay. We're going to get you a divorce. And I said to him, look, I have a feeling they're going to kill me. I said, take the woman, Deborah White's number. I said, she was my child protective service worker in New York at DSS, Department of Social Services. I said, when they kill me in an honor killing, call her and tell her to stop looking for me, because that's wasting manpower. You know, I was ready. At that point, I said, I don't want to deal with anything else. Just kill me. So on this 3-hour ride, you can just imagine why I have anxiety now. I remember going to the city of Atak, where my maternal aunt, my favorite aunt, lives. And she was petrified for me. I went, and we're waiting for my dad's sister's sons, who are like these uneducated AK-47 carrying guys. And my ex-husband, was my uncle's brother, which was my dad's brother's son, my first cousin, and my husband. And basically all my cousins were coming to God knows do what with me. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I can't tell you how I felt that at that point. And then I just heard men jumping out of a car, and I heard like, I don't know what the gun is called, but you can hear when they pull it back, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, they're gonna kill me. I was like, I wonder if the bullet's gonna burn, or if I wonder how it's going to feel, you know. And I just felt, I think I was numb, in a state of shock. I was like, just get it over with, you know. I hope they hit it in a part where it's just, I bleed out easy and it's done. And he's like, get in the car, you whore. And I remember the drivers on the right and left in Pakistan. No, on the right. And I don't know. It's different from America. It's like UK. And he was in front of me. I was in the back. My aunt was on the left of me. My other cousin was driving. He turned around and he slapped me so hard. And he goes, Yurandi, which means whore. And he's like, you have ruined my family's honor. He's like, you've been gone for hours. God knows who you were with. He's like, your mom's a whore. You're a whore. You know, basically just everything. He's like, wait till we get home. When we got to his house, everyone was there. His 3-4 brothers and sisters, their kids, young little kids from age 4 and up. My sister was there. My little sister was there. My mother was there. And my dad had to be locked in a room because he had a small pistol loaded because he was going to kill me. And my ex-husband took me, and he took a electrical wire, and the house was really, really big. He took me, I still have a bald patch here. I don't know if you could see. I had to put it together, but it's very thin, my hair from here, because I have very thick hair, as you can see, but it's very thin from here. Thank you. It's thin from here because he was pulling me from one end of the house to another while whipping me and kicking me. I still have a dent in my left eye, and everybody was watching like it was in the Roman Empire, or the Greeks, which, you know, where they would go in the arena and somebody would be getting beat up. And I remember my mother screaming, and those screams, and for a mother to see that done to her child and have no say. My mother was married at 14. I don't blame her. My sister was in a forced marriage, and she was screaming. She was 16. The little one was 12 years old. And they're watching this. He started kicking me, and then I was on my period. In Islam, you're not allowed to have sex on your period. He raped me that night. And right after he beat me up, he said, put your makeup on. We're going to a davat, which is a dinner after you get married, at his maternal uncle's house. And he beat me up. He made me put makeup on. I had blue eyes. My eyes were black and blue. I bruised very easily because I'm anemic. And I had to somehow cover, you know, my face, my makeup, and I was only 15. And I think we made up an excuse that I had an allergic reaction. And we went, and I was just dying inside. Like, what kind of an animal are you? You just beat me, and then you want me to go laugh in front of the world? And I went to his, you know, uncle's house, and we had dinner there, and I came home, and he raped me. He had sex with me for the first time on my period. And I remember laying there crying. And he took me, because before that I wouldn't let him touch me for 10 days. And then I ran away on the 10th day. So on the 11th day, it was really, really cold. I don't know how much it is in Celsius, but I would say in Fahrenheit, it was about 8 degrees, and it was cement floors. He was a psychologist. He made me get naked, and he was playing mind games. Now that I do psychology and social work myself, he made me lay on the floor, and he said, it's your body, but I own it. He said, lay on the floor. And he made me get naked and feel embarrassed. And he made me just lay on the floor naked. He said, look, it's my body. You're going to lay there. He said, now get up and lay on the bed. And he raped me. And I just cried and cried while he was doing what he had to do. And I got up, and I learned from one of the older girls there that if you don't want to get pregnant, you squat. And now, you know, you think about it, that's, thank God I didn't get pregnant and I would squat, so the semen would come out of me, so I didn't have his dirty little filthy child. And because forced marriage is haram in Islam. And I was forced, because when they did my nikah, nobody asked me. I do, because I recently got married this year during COVID.
Yeah.
And I said I do. And basically after that, that's when the rape and everything began. And then I became an actress. I have a history of kidney stones. So for him to stay away from me, I would act like I had kidney stones, and I would just cry and fake it. And I can't believe that that's what I did. So he would stay away from me. And even at times like that, he wouldn't. I was with him for living for about 3 months. And basically a little bit after getting back, from the running away, he started accusing me of having an affair with my maternal uncle, my mom's second cousin. And when I went to my nanny's house, I saw my uncle there, and he looked at me and he said, "There's a cell phone for you upstairs in the bathroom. Go upstairs." So I went upstairs. I called my social worker. I said, "I'm being held here against my will." And I said, "You need to come help me." And that was about end of, I would say, the first week of February 2005. And I made that phone call, and I thank Allah that my caseworker picked up. I would have left there a message, but there's nothing like talking to someone, on the phone, face to face or with voice to voice. And I remember telling her, "Please come get me. I can't take it." And I tried to kill myself while I was there. I tried drinking bleach, but it was just nasty tasting bleach, and I couldn't do it. I tried to stab myself in the stomach. I still have a little, but my little gushy stomach, it wouldn't go through. And luckily I was going to take some wheat pills, and you put it in the wheat there, it kills the bugs, and as soon as you take it, you die. And I told his cousin, I was like, "Can you go get me those pesticides?" I was like, "I need to do something with it." And he went and he told my husband at the time, and he beat me up. So I got beaten up by him 2-3 good times, and my father joined him when I tried to run away the second time. I asked the housekeeper to get me a taxi. I'll pay her. And she went and she told my mom and my dad and my in-laws, and my dad then joined Tariq in beating me. And when he was kicking me in the head, I never believed, in cartoons when you see stars, I never thought that that could happen to humans. But when he was kicking me and my dad, one from the left, one from the right, I saw stars. And that night I slept with my mother-in-law. God bless her. She's dead now. And then they took me to a shaman woman, and she said I had jinn in me, which a jinn is like a demonic spirit. And they're like, "Oh, the jinn doesn't want her to be with her husband." And they had me do like ceremonies and drink stuff. And hello, it's a forced marriage. I don't want to be with him. There's no spirit in me, but that just shows you how these people think. And I made the phone call, but I heard nothing from my caseworker. I mean, absolutely, there was no way. I wasn't allowed to touch the phone. He took my American Music NSYNC from me. He took everything from me, passport, cell phone, and I basically couldn't even listen to the music I wanted. And after that, I realized, like, wow, he does control my life, every part of it. And there was a big AK-47 hanging on the wall. We're Pathan, Pashtun, and it's decoration. I grew up when I was 2 with the AK-47 over my head, the bed that I slept on. And I used to look at it every day and say to myself, "I'm going to shoot this bastard." But then I said, I'm not going to be able to get away because they're going to find me. But I couldn't. I was 15. I had just turned 15. I could not think of holding that big thing and shooting him. And luckily, thank God I didn't, because I would either been dead or in Pakistani jail rotting away forever. So one day, I'm about the 3rd week of February, I'm at his other aunt's house for another dinner, wedding dinner or whatever. And my mother-in-law calls, and she's like, "There's some white people in our village." That's exactly what she said. She's like, "There's some white people in the village, and they're asking for you. They just want to make sure that you and Tariq's marriage is legal and valid. They want to make sure you're together. But in reality, it was the U.S. consulate officials with a Pashto translator coming to see me, to see if I was really being held against my will. So the people are like, take us to her. And these people, my in-laws, they got really excited, like, oh my God, they're coming. His paperwork is, gonna be done. Little did they know that they were coming to rescue me. And the lady, she came, it was a couple, and she came and she sat in the room with me at Tariq's aunt's house, and that bastard was sitting in the room, and I was trying to tell her, like, me, facing away from him. And she goes, can you please go get some water for me? She's like, we're just seeing if you're married and everything's good. And she's like, everything's looking good. And as soon as he went to get water, I showed her my neck because he had beat me a week. Like 3 days before that, I had a big scar here. It's gone now. I mean, it's been 16 years. And she saw my black eye, and I said, get me out of here. And she said, unless you find way to the embassy, I can't help you because you're married under Sharia Pakistani law, the nikah. So I said, that's not possible. I'm not even allowed to pick up the phone. And I remember him coming back in the room, and she's like, oh, you guys make a lovely couple. It's so nice. We're going to expedite your paperwork. Don't you worry. And, she was doing that so he would be, I guess, nice to me or not suspect anything, which was a really smart idea for them to do at the time. And they came to the village and they saw me. They left. And in that month, I somehow managed to sneak to get on the phone to the woman. I had her card, and at the same time, the day I married him, his brother got married to a woman named Rubina. And that little witch, she saw me on the phone, and I got beat up again that day. So, but I did get to speak to the agent, so it was worth the beating, I guess you can say. I just told her, what's going on? Hurry up. And she's like, just wait a little bit more. And I will never forget, on March 7, 2005, I got a call, and my dad said, give the phone to Tariq. And he goes, Tariq, your aunt is in jail because Naila is not attending school, which is against the law in America. They didn't want to tell him about the whole foster care thing because my family's very secretive, like keep everything in the family. And on March 14th, I left Pakistan. It was at the time, now it's short, it was like an 18-hour flight. I left the 16th, and I reached 15th. I reached America. It's on my ticket in one of my interviews. I think I reached America March 16th, 2005. And they basically, as soon as the plane landed, they made an announcement at JFK, Miss Naila Amin, please get up. And I was just sitting there really, really quiet. And also, as soon as I got into the taxi to come to the airport, he was trying to feel me up under my burqa. Like, he was just such a disgusting pig. And he was like, you have to wear the burqa. You have to cover your face. You can't sleep at your maternal aunt's house. You can't sleep anywhere. You have to cover everything. You can't go out. You can't do anything unless your mom's with you, giving me orders. And I'm thinking in my head, like, yeah, okay, like, you'll ever see me again? Never. And to this day, I've been to Pakistan twice again, and he has not seen my face. So basically, he's feeling up on me in the cab, and his sister's, he's in the middle, I'm on the left, the sister's on the right, and he's feeling up on me. Shameless man. And as soon as there's a wall in the airport, now the Islamabad airport is much different, but back then, once you got through that gate, I went to the changing room, and I put on my jeans, I put on my shirt. I was like, F this, screw this, I am done. I put on my jeans, and as soon as I got on the plane, I caught a fever. It's like my body knew, hell is over. And I remember at the time, they don't give, I think, like aspirin and like paracetamol on the plane anymore. But at that time they did. And I felt much better. But then they made that announcement once we landed. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to get up. And it's PIA, Pakistan International Airline, 4 years after 9/11. So I'm like, they're going to find me anyway. So I get up, and everyone on the plane is looking at this little girl like, is she a terrorist? Is she, holding a bomb? Then the door opens. of the plane, and you see about 30 social workers, mostly police detectives, uniform, JFK, FBI, Homeland Security, Nassau County Department of Social Services, sheriffs. And I'm like, oh my God. So everyone's just looking, and they took me downstairs. Apparently JFK has their own police, and they searched me, and my caseworker was there. She took all my, I had money and stuff, and she took that from me, gold, all my belongings. She took it from me, and she took it to my parents' house. And I spent the first night at NASA University Medical Center psychiatric ward because they thought it was the safest place for me because it was locked and nobody would be able to get to me like my family. And I can't tell you that how amazing it felt to be in there instead of getting raped, like the smell of the hospital, blankets. I didn't care. I was just so happy to be there, even though there were people that were worshiping Satan in the next room, and another woman just, you know how psychiatric wards are, but I was like, oh, thank God I'm here and away from him. And the next morning, the nurse found me in a fetal position, which is a big indication of sexual harassment, because it's a way of your body putting yourself in a ball because you've been traumatized. And I said to the nurse, oh my God, am I really in America? I'm so happy. And she said, yes. She said, your social workers are coming to pick you up today. You're going to court. And it was the next day. I went to family court in Westbury, and there was a man named Judge Foskey. And he decided it was a brilliant idea to put me in a RTF, which is a residential treatment facility, because once again, they still didn't know what to do. I am the first case in Nassau County that they had like this. Instead of putting me with a foster home, they looked for a foster home for me before, but there was not one Muslim family in the whole of New York. Can you believe that? Now there's many, but at that time there weren't any. And you know, I had to eat, like I said, pizza and God knows what else, veggies, and it was just hard. You know, this story is just not enough time for one interview, but I'm just telling you the main parts. And I basically went to court, and they put me in an RTF, and I'm walking into this place which is owned by the Vanderbilts, and it's like 6 acres, and it's there's a house which the nuns live in, and then there's a facility with 60 girls. I'm walking in, and then I had no other clothes than my, you know, shalvar kameez and then the jeans. When I went to the psychiatric ward the first night, they cut the jeans open. It's apparently safety protocol or whatever it is. I couldn't wear that again, so I had to walk in there in shalvar kameez. So I'm walking into this place, and all these girls from different ethnicities, you know, girls from Queens, Bronx, Long Island, Hamptons, everywhere, are looking at me like, okay, who's this? They're exactly words. They're words to me now that, you know, they tell me later. They were like, we were wondering, like, who's that little Indian? Because, you know, no one knows better now. People know now. But that's what they thought. They were like, oh my God, there's an Indian girl here. There's an Indian girl here. She's in the nurse's office. You know, they were checking me out first, and they were like, you're underweight. Your vitamins are deficient, blah, blah, blah. You're anemic. And now we're going to take you up to your room. You're going to be, this is your social worker, this is your psychologist, psychiatrist, etc., etc. And I had my first meeting there with like the social workers and everyone. And when my caseworker came, the director of the place, she said, in all the years that I've worked here, I have never seen so many people in one child's case. It was a room full of people because it was State Department involved, FBI, just different organizations. And it was almost like I was a liability on them. I ran away from that place 13 times because I hated it. I hated the school. I just hated being there. I just hated it. So I ran away about 13 times, to the point that Mindy Lee, the director, I saw her a year ago when I was filming my personal documentary. And she was like, I don't want this girl. She's too much of a liability. And my caseworker was like, what am I going to do with her? So they put me in Holliswood Psychiatric Hospital, and I was there for 2 weeks, and I seen it all in there. And when I was there, there was a man, a nurse, who would give the girls and me Benadryl at night. I wasn't on any medication, but he would give me Benadryl to help me sleep, because over there I was fresh out the flames. So when I would have these nightmares, I thought I was running through the streets of Pakistan and he's chasing me. And I would wake up and I would start wandering the halls of the hospital at night, and I didn't know where I was. So that's a very biggest sign of PTSD. And they started giving me Benadryl after that. And I would take the Benadryl, and we had one nurse, and, I would see him eyeing me. And it was turning springtime. I was wearing shorts, at the time, when you're young, and once it's like a bird, it's like a bird stuck in a cage. When she's let out, she doesn't know what to do. So I'm wearing like little shorts and walking around. I didn't care. I was 15 years old. I was like, I'm gonna do whatever they told me I couldn't do, because I was rebelling. And this man would give me weird looks. As a woman, we always know when a man is looking at us weird. And he decided to go check my file and find out that I had no kind of visitations, that basically he didn't know the whole deal, but he knew that no one was coming to see her. So that night when I went to go get my medication, he goes to me, here's some money. I can't remember the exact. He's like, I saw that you're from Baldwin. I'm from Almont. He's like, that's 7 exits away from each other. Maybe we can meet tonight. He's like, I'll give these girls the medications, and you and I will meet. And me being a smarty, because my whole life I was molested by my cousin Aziz. First, another cousin, my paternal aunt's son. So, this was nothing new to me. I said, all right. I said, I'm going to meet you tonight. Give me the money. So I took the money from him. I went to my room and I told my roommate, I said, get the head nurse in here. When the head nurse came in there, I said to her, I have no reason to lie. I said, this is exactly what happened. And then another girl came out the other room, and she said, he's done the same thing to me. They took him off the floor right then and there. So he was basically trying to have an affair with me in that hospital. God knows how many other girls he did it to. He was taken. And I think that is what really helped me, because then I said to social services, my parents had an ex-judge as a lawyer to try to get me back from the age of 14 to, at the time I was 15. So they had this really powerful, the most powerful lawyer in Long Island, and they were really scared. I said, you guys are going to get sued really bad. I said, so you either listen to me, because I've been telling you one thing. I just want to live a normal life. Find me a foster home. And, I don't care if they're not Muslim. Just find me a home, because I didn't want to be here. Hey, 12 o'clock, it's tuna time. Or I was eating tuna there the whole time. Long story short, they found me a foster home finally. My foster mother, Sierra, we are still in touch. I have 2 little foster brothers now. I plan to meet them soon, hopefully 2021. I haven't met them yet. I haven't seen her since I was 15. I was living with her, and she was really good to me. I had a pit bull. Her name was Sabrina. But she had a fiance, Sierra. And unfortunately, when Sierra would go to college at night, he would drink, and I was coming up the basement stairs. He was going downstairs, and he grabbed me. I guess it was like, hey, it's a foster child. She's been there before. We could grab her, It was a normal thing, I guess. And I ended up running away from the house, and there was a Sikh man who owned a gas station. And I told him in my broken Patani Urdu, I said, please help me. I need money for the train. I got on the train and I went back to Salvation Army, which was the main agency that gave the kids to foster parents. So when I said that to the agency, they put me in another home with a very wonderful woman, Aunt Linda. We're still in touch as well. And I lived there a little bit, but her daughter and I were very alike, and we just butted heads, and I just kind of had enough of everything. I was about to turn 16, and I just ran away from there. And then I was living from one friend's house to another, all over the place. And then I met my son. His name is Ayan. He's going to be 14 in April. I met his dad, and he hid me out for about a year, and then we started having problems, and I moved out. I was, no, I was with him. I'm sorry. The story is so long and so many parts to
It's
it.
okay.
My story has a little piece of everything from DV to forced marriage to foster care. Um, I was with him. I jumped from basically what's the saying, from the pan into the fire. I came from Pakistan. I had PTSD. I was with him. I was cutting my wrist. uh I wasn't ready, and he wanted to get married really quickly because he didn't want to commit any sin. God bless his soul. He's a good Muslim man, amazing father. um and I basically, after that, just realized, like, what am I doing? He was a good man. I wasn't ready. I then said to him, look, I'm going to go to my parents' house. I got a phone call. Me and my parents at that time, something had happened in the family where I helped save another female, another family member, and I don't want to get, I don't want to, I want to respect her privacy.
Yeah, of course.
That brought me close to the family, and we were in touch. Me and my mom, we'd have little phone calls here and there, and she knew I was married. And I told her I have a letter from a big imam stating what you guys did to me was haram, which was basically against the law of Islam. And forced marriage is haram. And anyone can Google that and look that up. And my mom, was like, okay, I have some news to tell you. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in the park. I was 17. And she goes to me, no, I wasn't 17. I was 16. She goes to me, we have finally won custody of you. And I said, what? She's like, you can come home. And I was like, oh my God. So I said to Farouk, look, we're having problems. I'm cutting my wrist. I need to get better. Without parents' blessings, our marriage is not working. I need to get better. I went home, and what I didn't know is that I was pregnant. And my parents had physical custody of me, but up until I turned 18, they would have legal custody of me. So they took me to the same hospital where at 15 I was at the psych ward. And they're like, oh, everything seems well, because I was gone a year. When you're gone in foster care in America for more than 2-3 days, they do a physical and psychiatric evaluation because they don't know what you were doing out there. So they're like, your daughter's well and health. They didn't say it to my mom, but my mother was waiting outside, and I saw the look. It was taking too long. Caseworkers were near each other, and I'm like, something's wrong. I could feel it. And she came out. A caseworker took me in, doctor, and they're like, you're pregnant. I was like, oh my God. And my mother, it was a Friday, August 18th. And they were like, if she has a miscarriage over the weekend and the dad kills her, we're going to be responsible. It was it was 4:30. The Department of Social Services closes at 5. They called the commissioner, Dr. John Imhoff. He's ex-commissioner now. We still have a relationship. He saved my life technically. And he was in the office. He said, don't take her home, take the mom home. We're going to send a caseworker to tell the mom and dad, and you're going to bring Naila to the building where we're not allowed to have the children, but this is a special case. And they used to call me Naila, the international sensation, because they had to break laws and learn. It's almost like how we are with COVID now, learning a new way of life. They had to learn a new way of, I guess, fostering and becoming caseworkers with me in my case. So they brought me back, and I went upstairs to the 6th floor where no foster child ever goes. And I met the commissioner, and that's how we, became buddies. And he gave me his, phone number and direct office number to his, office. He gave me his email, and, we just, from there, just he was like a, you know, father figure to me. I guess I always looked for that. And, you know, every man that was nice to me, it was like a father figure thing. And I guess in these days you would call it daddy issues. But I went and they sent a caseworker who was Sheila Harrison, and she's retired now. And she went to my parents' house and she told them, your daughter is pregnant. And my dad said, get out of my house, and I don't want her in my house. So after fighting for me for 3 years, they didn't want me back because of the baby, even though the baby was halal. I was married, everything. So I got sent to a lady's house and I was living in a foster home there. I had my baby in foster care, and I had an Afghani female doctor. God bless her soul. She told me, I'm going to tell you something. I almost got fired for this with the last foster girl that I told, but she's like, you're in foster care, but this baby is not in foster care. She's like, you can give him to Bob Billy down the street, and DSS has no rights over him. So when I found that out, once he was, you know, done breastfeeding and everything at 6 weeks old, I gave him to his dad and Dadi, his dad's mom, because I knew that they were doing everything. They were telling me to come home at 9. I came home on a Saturday at 11 p.m. I was with his dad with the baby. I wasn't doing anything. I was with his dad and his family with the baby. He dropped me off home. They're like, if you do something like this again, we're going to take the baby away. I said, you know what? Go do an investigation on the dad. Go check his house out, because I'm giving the baby to the dad. So they were kind of shocked, like, how does she know this? But it was a law. So they don't want a lot of these kids to know this. And I gave my son away. I had to make the best choice, which I think I am an amazing mother, because I did the best for my son. First of all, I was not ready. I was not mentally okay. And I wanted him to have the best, which at the time I couldn't even take care of me. You know, I was really sick. I went from being in this forced marriage to this marriage, to becoming a teen mom, to living in this foster home, having no sleep, no help. I think I did the best thing for my son, and I don't have to prove it to anyone. And, you know, my son is an amazing young man, and I love him. He's the number one thing in my life. And I think he gives me the strength to go on when I don't want to go on anymore. And I had my son. I left their house. Believe it or not, they wanted to get rid of me so bad that at 17 and a half, I went to court, and I already had the baby. He was about 5 months old. He was a chunky little thing, and I had him. And what I didn't know is that my parents were going to be in court that day. And I haven't seen them since August of 2006, to when they kicked out the caseworker and they found out I was pregnant. So they hadn't seen me through my pregnancy. No contact. Basically, they didn't see me, didn't talk to me. And they saw me in court, and I had the baby in my hand, and my dad at the time had, and to this day still has, his heart is a little bit like a rock. He said not a word to me and took the baby out of my hands and was holding the baby. And then my baby, my son, he decides to just poop in his diaper. And I was like, welcome to being a grandfather. And that kind of just broke the ice. And that was it. Like, me and my parents started talking. After that, the whole thing with my female cousin happened. And then, you know, we were talking more and more. But what originally broke the ice was us seeing in court, them seeing the baby. And when they saw the baby and everything, you know, it was really, really emotional for me. And I went home, and me and my mom would talk once in a while. Then the whole thing with my female cousin happened, and family member, and they would talk to me more and more. And it's almost like they needed me, you know, and which is really selfish now that I think about it. And I stayed, but I was not doing well mentally. Ayan, I had moved out from Ayan's dad's house, and I got my own place. I was working in a real estate office. I turned 18. I was working in a real estate office, and he was also my landlord. And he helped me out a lot, Osman, and he helped me get on my feet. And then I was going to go to the army to become a Pashto linguist because 9/11 had just happened and they needed Pashto translators to go to Afghanistan. So I was going to do that. And before I made the decision, I was like, you know what? Let me call my mom. So I called my mom and I said to my mom, I was like, look, I'm about to join the army. I left my husband. Ayan's there. We're separated. And she's like, Naila, I'm going to talk to your dad and your brothers. If you left him, nobody knows about the baby in the village. All they care about is what will people say. No one knows about the baby. We'll hide it. Just come back, And my dad said, put a patta means rock. He said, "Pura de carnica" means make your heart a rock and forget about the kid. So in my head, I'm thinking, the baby lives with the dad anyways. I did that a long time ago. But I'm not going to lie to people and say I don't have a kid. So I moved home at 18 after 4 years, and that was 2008. I moved home, and ever since then, I was pretty much, here and that, led astray a little bit, what people do to heal different things, involved with the wrong crowd here and there. But, everyone learns from their lessons. And I learned from my lessons. And at 22, I started Nassau University College. And I graduated there with a 3.75 GPA. I had a 4.0, but I got a C. Can you believe in public speaking? At the time, who would have knew, right?
I know.
I'd be doing it. And I started sharing my story for the first time in Nassau Community College with Dr. Patricia Halcrow, who was head of social service teaching department. And once I started sharing it with classmates and stuff, it gave me the strength. And then I was contacted in 2005 March by Nahid from Women for Afghan Women. And she said there's an Asian reporter here from Epoch Times, American Asian woman, looking for a Asian American, South Asian. In England, it's called Asian, but in America, it's called South Asian. They're like, we're looking for a South Asian girl who's willing to go in front of the camera. She's like, I know a girl who has a really big mouth and she wouldn't mind. She meant it in a nice way. I've worked with Nahid where I told her my story and told her I want to possibly open up the Naila Amin Foundation, which is my nonprofit, as a fiscal sponsorship. I kind of wanted to become her baby, but then I ended up becoming a whole different foundation. I intend on opening the first group home, but I'll talk about that in the end. Yeah. And on April 1st, 2005, the Epoch Times, which is a humanitarian newspaper that is banned in China, they released my article. I was front page, basically front page, my whole life story. It took 7 hours to do the interviews. They had to take the photos. 2 days because the lighting wasn't good enough. I had to learn how. I was like, I'm doing this over and over. Like, my brain was hurting at the end. And it's really hard because, like, you're cutting open up a scar. Because, you're talking about these stories and these things that, that you try to suppress. And my life since that day, April 1st, 2005, has not been the same. And after that, I just got involved into, I thought I was going to be a regular social worker one-on-one, but I got into political stuff. And I helped change the law in New Jersey. In 2018, New Jersey was the first state to raise its marriage age from 16 to 18. Delaware just passed its bill. Unchained at Last is another organization I work very closely with. And I've been working for the past 2 years with Assemblyman Ramos from Brentwood, New York, on Bill 88337. And it is the bill to raise the marriage age from 17 to 18 in New York with no exceptions, because you can buy cigarettes at 19, you can buy alcohol at 21, but you can get married at 18, and you can retain a lawyer in case the spouse is abusive, or you can go back. If you go to the police, you can't go back to you can't go to a shelter because they return you to the perpetrator, and you can't go to the police because you're not 18. So, and you can't retain a lawyer, so you can't get a divorce. So these 17 years old, this 1 year of generation and 1 year that we have, we're putting them at risk right now. And God knows how many there are, that are at this risk. So we want to make it 18 with no exceptions in New York. I have a petition on change.org. If you go on my website, the petition is Naila Amin Foundation.org. The petition is on there. And I also am working, on this federal bill, which will raise the sponsorship for a fiancé visa from 0 to 18. And since my interview came out, it's called Child Bride Request Okayed by U.S. Government. Associated Press did that. It broke the internet on January 11, 2019. And it just shows you what's going on in our country. Between 2000 and 2015, 254,000 girls, I believe, were married under the age of 18 in America alone. And God knows that's the statistics we have. And in USCIS visas, 2,558 visas were given to older men coming in from these other countries, mostly Pakistan and Mexico. And the girls were minors. And there were around something similar to older men bringing in younger girls. And the case that stood out the most to me was a 75-year-old Guatemalan man bringing in a 15-year-old girl to be his wife. And in New York, did you know there are 13 states with no floor limit? So if you and I had a child and she was 4 and we promised her off to Ahmad in Afghanistan because that's the tribe we come from, or whatever, we had made a decision because you and I are friends to get them married, we can get them married, and it is completely legally legal.
It's awful. It's so awful. I'm just going to say, every single time I hear your story, it's the same emotions. And honestly, it is just complete admiration for you, Naila. Literally, it's just, I'm in complete awe of what you do every single day. Oh God, I'm shaking up. But it's just complete awe. And I mean, obviously, for someone sitting here who's not been through a forced marriage, hearing your story just puts it into perspective just how awful the experience is. And a large majority of us will never actually know fully what it's like. But, you sitting here telling your story, it is just going to open doors for people to educate themselves. And I guess for people to kind of learn a bit more about it. And obviously, I guess you're doing a lot of work within the US. How far behind do you think the US is in comparison to other countries in tackling forced marriage?
Believe it or not, the U.S. is very behind, very behind. There's a new nonprofit, Students Against Child Marriage, and I read a statistics on there, 206 girls getting married every 60 seconds under the age of 18 in America, in the United States of America, the greatest country on earth. Well, not technically, but the greatest power and economic power in the world or whatever. But that's happening in America. We are very behind. You guys have the forced marriage working unit. Me and my husband went to get our registry done here in England, and they have signs here which we don't have. There are girls that come to me that told me when they got married, they were crying to the clerk. They were crying and the clerk didn't do anything. Over here, me and my husband were separated, and we have a love marriage, and we were separated and put in different rooms and questioned and had signs everywhere like, are you related? Are you cousins? So in the UK, you guys are way ahead of us. I saw signs for FGM, or if you're being taken against your will. I know Karma Nirvana the AHA Foundation, which is an organization I used to be an intern for when I first started social work. They have took some of the ideas from Karma Nirvana. We tell our girls in America, I tell my girls to stuff their bras with spoons and bobby pins, anything metal that will make the metal detector go off and make them get a separate screening, and they can say, use the words, I'm being human trafficked, because that is against the law, because we don't have a federal child marriage law. So basically child forced marriage law. And you guys in Manchester Airport have signs. I've seen it myself. In Bristol Council, the Registry Council, City Council, I'm still learning the differences and names. Bristol City Council, I think that's what it's called. They have signs everywhere. I took pictures of it because I told the girl how much I appreciated it, because what if I wasn't happy? What if, I was not happy? And I'm glad that they separate you, but how many girls don't have that power within them, to say no when they know that mom and dad are waiting outside with God knows what they're going to do to them? Or how many cases of honor killings are there in the UK? The case of Shafila Ahmed, the case of, I can't remember her name right now, forgive me, God. Girl in London, she was stabbed 17 times and then her throat was slit by her dad in the bathroom. So many girls. That other girl who was, I think, taken to Pakistan, and she married the guy who she wanted to marry, and then the family killed her. There's cases every day that we don't know about. So the UK is ahead, but also what we need to do is we need to get the men involved. We have a program in the United Nations in America. It's called He for She, and we actually train guys and young men as young as 11 to how to treat women, to have, if they have sisters, if they see guys teasing girls, bullying girls, touching girls, groping girls, to stand up for her, that makes you a man, not laughing or pulling her skirt up, or when you go to the club, pulling a skirt up or touching her, moving her, holding her hip. No one has the right to do that to you. My brother is a psychiatrist, and you know what he said? He said, I don't care if it's a prostitute standing on the streets. She doesn't have a right to be raped. No one has a right to be raped or touched. You know what I mean? And I just think that what we need to do is, now that I'm going to be living 70% in England and 30% in America, when I have to go back for the bill changing, but with COVID, the New York bill should have passed. We have Senator Anna Kaplan signing on, and I'm really, really pushing for it. And you know me, once I start, I don't stop till I finish. So I'm going to be probably flying back in the new year to, do media and go and show my documentary, do a live documentary screening of my documentary Alarm Bells, which actually won its first award in the South African Film Festival.
Oh, wow,
so I'm really I'm really excited about that. And I have a lot of work to do, but with COVID, we're going into lockdown in Bristol on Thursday. So with COVID, we don't know what's going to happen. So thank God for virtual stuff and technology, but I'm going to keep still, rallying for it. I have a petition on change.org. It's also on www.nailaaminfoundation.org. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Basically just Googling Naila Amin Foundation and everything comes up. And just remember, if you're in this situation, we can't help you unless you find that just little bit of strength within you. Once you find that little bit of strength within you, we as the social workers, as the caseworkers, as the activists can take over. In order for us to be your strength and for you to lean on us, you have to become that strong pillar. And then you can, fall sometimes, but I'll be there to catch you. I'll be there, other organizations, so many people. So you must find that, whoever is listening to this, you must find that strength within you. Only you can do it, because if you don't take care of you, nobody else will.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for today, Naila. It has been Oh, incredible listening to you and obviously hearing your story. We have run slightly over time, so I'm so sorry, but I just want to thank you so much. I'm sure everyone at Savera UK Youth will as well. When this is posted on our Instagram page, which hopefully will be soon, we will link obviously your petition, your emails, your websites and everything in our post. But I just want to thank you. And you know what, Naila, you carry on being you.
I will. Thank you so much, Maryam.